fact, may I tell you, Lordship, another thing. While this agitation was taking place in Assam, many of the people, whether Bengalis or others, moved out of Assam because they were fearing that they might be killed or hurt. Many families actually migrated to other states. For those Muslims who left India and went to Pakistan, and they wanted to return India, there was a whole different process.
Article 245, Parliament undoubtedly has the power to legislate.
Correct. But they were not discriminating on the basis of residence. They were not discriminating anybody on the basis of residence. They were saying, only if you are resident will you get this through the process of naturalization, to address this issue on the basis of demographic change. But this is the march of history. You can't stop this. And at that point in time, Parliament said, why should we stop it? These are our own people. For those Muslims who left India and went to Pakistan, and they wanted to return India, there was a whole different process that's included in section 5 and 6, in Article 6. Whole different process. Because we did not want them back. Here we were welcoming them because these are people of our own ethnicity. So this was an act that was recognized by the then government and allowed to happen. But they did not realize the kind of opposition that will emerge as it did in Assam. It happened in other states, but it happened in Assam.
So essentially the Assam Accord was that 71 onwards,
yes,
nobody will be protected.
Correct.
51 to 66 and 66 to 66 to 71, people who came in would be protected, basically.
That's right.
51 to 66, no questions asked.
Right.
66 to 71, to satisfy the...
That's correct. Now, if you look at really migrations this way, for example, when the Vietnam War took place, kind of the Vietnamese people that were settled, these are all foreigners. You look at the German the Turks who have now been given citizenship, when the Germany tweaked its constitution. It's tweaked its constitution. It never allowed this to happen before. So Mexicans, there's a special provision of the Mexicans in the US. So the point that I'm making is that's the decision of the political process which allows this to happen and then makes a provision for it under the law. And there's no basis for challenging it other than the ground that it is discriminatory. But this was a non-discriminatory recognition, not based on sex, not based on race, not based on caste, not based on religion, not based on on no prohibited...
Place of residence, yes.
Sorry?
Based on place of residence.
No.
You have to be an ordinary resident of Assam.
No, but that's the test. That's the test, Mulats. I'm sorry. That is the test. That test was applied between 66 and 71. And your Lordship looks at the entry in list 1. It's entry 17 of list 1.
Yes, 17.
Which is citizenship, naturalization, and aliens.
There's no doubt that Parliament has the power. There's no doubt about it.
No, I'm not only... Sorry.
Entry 17 confers and read with 245, Article 245. Parliament undoubtedly has the power to legislate.
Correct. But they were not discriminating on the basis of residence. They were not discriminating anybody on the basis of residence. They were saying, only if you are resident will you get this through the process of naturalization. So then, under no prohibited category. And there's another very interesting feature as far as Assam is concerned. Assam has 5 hill areas, scheduled areas, that were created. And they are autonomous councils, Mulats. A lot of the minorities, Mulats, never went to those scheduled areas. You can't buy land there. So they remained where they are. So the Muslim population percentage showed that it had increased. So all these are very complex issues, Mulats. How is this court going to determine all this and come to a conclusion that this is violative of 29? There is a place called Darang, Malats. A part of Darang was created as a tribal area. So the Muslim population only stayed in the other part, so that if you took Darang in its original state, the Muslim population would be less. But when the tribal area was considered, the Muslim population would be more. The point that I'm making is there are no judicial standards to determine all this. It will be a hazardous task, judicial task, for you to come to a constitutional conclusion that because of this, their cultural rights under 29, because 29 is preservation of rights. Preservation of rights assumes that there is a violation, and because of which I have a constitutional entitlement to say, issue a writ of prohibition, issue a mandamus not to allow them to violate. That's nobody's case. And it is therefore not solely attributable to migration. So that's on the 29th. Now, it's absolutely tenuous connection, as my learned attorney says. Absolutely tenuous connection. One has nothing to do with the other. Very, very, very. Now, let's kindly come to now the Article 14 argument. That's even more interesting. Now, I'll assume, Malat, that 6A is struck down. Now, if 6A is struck down, what happens? Bangladesh will not take them.
As we said, this will result in a group of stateless citizens.
Total stateless.
The joint communique, which was issued by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and the then Prime Minister, clearly says that Bangladesh will take back people who had come in after 25th of March 1970.
That's correct. So Malas, you cannot, as a matter of constitutional law, Malas, and again, if you go.
So you will have people in India who have been otherwise recognized as foreigners by the Foreigners Tribunal's order, who cannot be granted Indian citizenship, and yet who cannot be deported, though they are aliens.
That's correct. And if you go to my submission, well, just give me power of judicial review. I've dealt with it in 2-3 minutes. I'll just finish on this aspect. Kindly come, alerts, to volume 2, my submissions.
Yes, we got yours. The ones, yes, we got your volume 2.
Volume 2. At my submission start at page 19, but scope of judicial review is at PDF 23. That's all right. In fact, may I tell you, Lordship, another thing. While this agitation was taking place in Assam, many of the people, whether Bengalis or others, moved out of Assam because they were fearing that they might be killed or hurt. Many families actually migrated to other states. So, in fact, the migration to some of the other states, Malad, is also attributable to what the uncertainty that prevailed in the state of Assam from 1978 right till 85.